Well, hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder. I'm Corny Swiss, and today I'm driving the IS-4M, and I'll be talking a lot about the IS-4 in this video. The skin I'm using, I don't know how to say the name. I don't even know how to spell it because there's L's and I's, I think, and it's just weird. I'm going to put the link to the post in the description because I don't think I can spell the dude's name right. But suffice to say, it's a cool IS-4 skin, I think. But the subject of this video, like I said earlier, is the IS-4. This was the first really super powerful tank, in my opinion. The T-54 is really strong, but the T-54, I don't think it compares in terms of armor. Because the IS-4 has one frontal weak spot, really, and that one frontal weak spot is really tiny. It's the less sloped part of the driver's hatch, and that's a really tough thing to hit. And in this video, you're going to see lots of hits. You know, Jagdtiger missed his first. Actually, he hit, or no, it's the second guy who hit. Someone hit, and the return fire goes a little short. When I first got the IS-4, I decided that this tank, or in my opinion, this tank had the most effective armor overall, practically. Now, well, I mean, there's a difference between having practical armor and having actual armor. Although they can be fairly synonymous. The difference is that, for example, the Jagdtiger at the time had better frontal armor than the IS-4, right? Because the IS-4 has that hatch on top of the turret, and, you know, it does have a lower plate, and there's things, right? However, with the Jagdtiger, it has that football field of a lower plate, but if you can cover that, it's impervious to damage, much like the IS-4 was. The issue was that the Jagdtiger lacked side armor and the ability to, and didn't have a really tough turret. You know, it had a turret face, it had a casement face that was really tough, but it didn't have a turret that was, it didn't have a turret. That was the main issue. So the IS-4, in my opinion, still is the single most armored and well-armored tank in the game. And I think it's hard. I mean, I can understand people are going to disagree, but I don't. It doesn't seem like a contest to me, right? And even though the gun the IS-4 has kind of feels its age once you get to this tier where you really have to hit weak spots sometimes to really cause damage, it's still a perfectly adequate gun. It's still a good gun. And I'm scoping up these Jagdtigers here, and this is actually why I don't like where they are. You see, it's like if you give an IS-4 any side of your tank, he's going to nuke you. Right, and that Jagdtiger was turning to deal with threat, and I had his range from previous shots, or had a really good idea of it, and I was able to knock him out. But another thing I really like about the IS-4 that I think has kind of maintained its power, because I thought with American tanks coming in that the IS-4 would suffer some serious power creep. And to some degree, that might be true. However, as far as I can tell, the M103 actually doesn't... I mean, it can deal with IS-4s, but I know personally, when I drove the IS-4 and ran into M103s, and it wasn't a huge deal. You know, the IS-4 has very sloped armor, very weird armor to some degree. And the heat round from the M103 doesn't deal with sloped surfaces very well, you know. And even if it does penetrate, it just seems like it doesn't do a lot, you know. And then the AP round for the M103, they have to be at close range to penetrate. And if you're angled at all, it won't penetrate. If you're angled, their heat probably won't penetrate. So it's the IS-4 still, honestly, I don't think power creep is a thing for the IS-4. I think it's still the strongest single tank in sort of the late portion of the tech trees. Now, I say single because the T-54 technically gets 2 spawns, which is a reason why I think it's, overall probably still the strongest tank, simply because it has 2 spawns, has great armor, and a great gun. But the IS-4, if I had to pick one tank to drive and win a game with, it would be the IS-4. It's just a great package of, power. I've taken hits from Jagdtigers, taken hits from Ferdinands, all kinds of stuff, and still taken. And on this, I've been thinking about doing revisions to tank reviews, going back to tanks that I haven't looked at in a very long time, from like the early stages of War Thunder Ground Forces. And I made like reviews such as the IS-4, the Premium Jagdpanther, the SU-122P, all those reviews. I've been thinking about going back and revisiting them. The IS-4 is one that I don't think I'll end up revisiting. And the reason is because I don't think a lot has changed. It's still, in my opinion, a dominant tank. It's just as fast as heavy tanks, if not faster. It's still very quick. The gun is the same, but the competition that it faces hasn't gotten to the point where that gun can't handle it. And its armor is still really, really strong. So it's kind of like, what is there to look at again, I guess, is my question. Now, tanks I do need to revisit is the late war German tanks, because they got engine buffs or, whatever, what have you. There were buffs given there. So I need to go back to those. And then some of the maybe earlier tier Russian tanks. But IS-4? Nah, I don't think so. It's a really strong tank, and it still is a really strong tank. And it's also, in my opinion, just a really, really cool tank. I've been trying to work on a new channel design and things like that, and the IS-4 I think is going to be the tank I choose to be in that design somewhere. Now, I did take a hit in the side there, and what that hit did, I think it entered actually slightly below the turret into the side armor, which is 160 millimeters thick, and likely to be an APCR shell because it didn't do, or a Panther shell, because it didn't do a lot of damage when it was inside the tank. It only wounded, I think, a crew member. Yeah, knocked out my horizontal drive, but that was about it. So I'm just going to sit here, repair up these, and then start using that. And look at all that damage. Those nice hits. All the little external bits of my tank are blown off, and there's all these big welts from enemy tanks. I'm going to be scanning over here looking for a nice shot. That Ferdinand's on fire. Not really worth shooting him. There are a couple guys over here. And something I know some people struggle with the IS tanks is when you get this 120 millimeter gun, 122 rather, is getting the shells on target. And it's really just something you need to practice with. The nice thing is that once you figure it out, you figured out like four tanks, 5 if you count the SU-122. That has basically the same ammunition. You figured out like how to be effective with 5 different tanks in terms of their guns, which is cool. And it really is a good gun. So, but I really enjoy playing the IS-4. I always feel a little dirty when I do, because I remember the days when it would be teams of T-54s with one IS-4. The IS-4 would kill everything. T-54s would mop up, and it'd be, the IS-4 had to be bombed. There was just no way to deal with it other than bombing. I remember games where, there was one game I remember in particular where it was a team, I was in an IS-4, there was a platoon of 2 IS-4s, I think, on the other team, and we basically just, all 3 of us met in the cap circle, and just kept shooting at each other and trying to get on each other's sides and shooting each other. We just couldn't kill each other. And eventually, I think what ended up happening, I think we got bombed. I think one of their guys came in and bombed the cap circle, killed them both, killed me. Obviously that's a medium outcome for me. 2 enemy tanks died, and a bomber has less bombs for my 1 tank, but it was an amusing game, to say the least. And we won this game pretty handily. And part of that is the IS-4 is tremendous when it's hull down, but it's also great at getting somewhere quick, holding the fort, and then continuing the advance. The best way I think to play the IS-4 is assault. Just go at them, use your big caliber gun, get close, and blast them. And then reap the rewards and let your armor do the saving. Because the IS-4's armor is something you can rely on. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Like always, I've been Corny Swiss, and I'll see you next time.